Hello investigators and welcome to Until the End of Time. My name is Werner. Thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be episode 4 in my Stella Clark solo, The Forgotten Age playthrough, Forging Our Own Path. Today we're going to be covering The Boundary Beyond. Now before we get into the actual scenario, I want to quickly wrap up one little thing from last time, which is the supplies. After we finished Threads of Fate, we got to buy some number of supplies, and I'm going to cover those, as well as talk a little bit about my XP purchases. So let's start with the resupply point. After Threads of Fate, we gain 8 supply points to buy available supplies. And from those available supplies, I have purchased a pickaxe for 2 points, a canteen for 2 points, 2 provisions, 1 point each, and 2 gasoline, 1 point each. There are a couple of other choices I did consider. The blanket prevents another trauma, but at this point I don't think I care getting a second trauma. We don't really need a second medicine because we still have our original medicine. And we don't need the pocket knife as much in this playthrough because when you are not forging your own path, there's a chance that not having the pocket knife could cost you the Relic of Ages. However, in forging your own path, that is not a risk, so we're fine on that. And we basically have everything else. We don't have a compass, but we don't need a compass. So that's our current supplies. Now, moving on to my XP purchases, there is a card that I have not played with in quite some time that is basically perfect for Stella. And the reason I haven't played it in Stella is because I really don't like the card. The card is Drawing Thin. And it's okay. I personally think this card's a design mistake. I think that even though it has been tabooed to get a +3 experience cost, it is still far too powerful. And this video is probably going to be a good showcase of why that is. Let's start by talking about what the card actually is. So it's a 0 cost asset. Normally 0 XP, though if you are playing with taboo rules, it is 3 XP. There's a single willpower icon. It is a talent. And it has a reaction ability. When you initiate a skill test, exhaust Drawing Thin, increase the difficulty of this test by 2, either gain 2 resources or draw 1 card. So you can basically start any test, increase the difficulty by 2 to get 2 resources. That's decent. I mean, if you're going to end up failing the test because of that, you've basically spent an action to get 2 resources, which isn't the worst, but it's not broken. But if you have 2 of these in play, because you'll note they're not limit once per player, then suddenly you can exhaust both of them on the same skill test. You'll probably end up failing the test, but now you got 4 resources for an action. Or maybe you have track shoes, and then track shoes lets you exhaust the track shoes after you move to take an agility test. So you give that +4 difficulty, and now after you move you get 4 resources. Or maybe you have something like a Take Heart or a Rabbit's Foot. You want to actually fail tests. Or maybe you're Stella, and every time you fail a test, you get the action back. So Drawing Thin is a stupidly broken card, and in fact, this might be the only game I play with it. If it is indeed as broken in this game as I'm guessing it's probably going to be, then after this scenario, I will refund myself the 6 experience I spent on it and just buy something else with that money, because I don't think it's going to result in me having any fun if I'm going to continue playing with DT in my deck. So let's not do that. Now we got 12 XP in Threads of Fate, so apart from the Drawing Thin, I also upgraded both Rabbit's Foot. It is now a 3 XP asset, and every time we fail a test, we exhaust the Rabbit's Foot, or we can exhaust the Rabbit's Foot to search the top X cards of our deck for a card and draw it, where X is the amount we failed by. So the previous Rabbit's Foot, we just drew the top card. Now we actually get a little bit of a search. In addition, we also have I should check actually, we have the Expedition Journal in here. Yes, we did. We got this, which gives us an extra action. We don't have any of the allies because we are, of course, still forging our own path. And otherwise, the deck is basically the same. I think I took out the Fine Clothes, upgraded the Rabbit's Foot, and I already exiled the Test of Will, so that's the cards that we lost. Now, let's get on to The Boundary Beyond, which is somewhat of a... Well, it's a legendary or perhaps infamous scenario. I'll talk more about the difficulty of the scenario after I've read the intro text, so let's start there. Scenario 4, The Boundary Beyond. Rays of hot yellow sunlight beamed down on you from above as your car speeds down the dusty highway of southern Texas just outside of San Antonio. It has been several days since you hit the road from Arkham on your way to Mexico City, where you may be able to get answers from some of Alejandro's associates, or even better, from his adversaries in academia. Your recent investigations in Arkham uncovered much, but despite all the knowledge you laid bare, the trail went cold soon after. The Brotherhood that you exposed in Arkham has all but vanished from the city. Its members left behind little information as to their next objective, other than the name the Nexus of Enkai, a place of power that Istaka believes is the Brotherhood's ultimate destination. Enigmatic as ever, the Etzli warrior sits in the passenger seat next to you. She is tense and cold like a spring, the forged leather seat offering her little comfort. Check the campaign log. If the investigators forge a bond with Istaka, we read Istaka's quest. Istaka's quest. How close are we? Istaka asks for the 100th time since departing from Arkham. We have to get to Anahak as fast as we can. The longer we take, the more time the Brotherhood has to reach the Nexus. You recognize the old Aztec name for the Valley of Mexico and inform Istaka that you'll be crossing the border into Mexico within the hour. She crosses her arms and grits her teeth. We suffer no ill effects. If we hadn't done that, we would start this scenario with 2 fewer cards. Check the campaign log. If we found the missing relic, we read Arcane Thrumming. Arcane Thrumming. Throughout the journey south, the device you recovered from the clutches of the Brotherhood continues its endless humming, wrapped in a tin bedsheet on the back seat of your car. Your understanding of the relic's nature is deepening. The investigator with the Relic of Ages, a device of some sorts, in his deck subs it out with a new version of the Relic of Ages included in his missive pack. Relic of Ages Forestalling the Future. Now, I should have a... let's send this outside. Relic of Ages Forestalling the Future is still a 2-cost asset with 3 wild icons, however it has gained an ability. Fast action. Exhaust the Relic of Ages, test Willpower or Intellect 4. If we succeed, remove 1 doom from the current agenda. If you fail, add a doom to the Relic of Ages. Max 1 success per game. So we can mess with the doom. I believe I've already included the upgraded version in my deck. Let me check that real quick. I did. Excellent. And next up, we also have, if we rescued Alejandro, we read Alejandro's thoughts. Throughout your journey, Alejandro scribbles endlessly in his journal. The sound of pencils scratching against paper, a constant reminder of his presence. He remains huddled in the backseat of the car, his knees keeping the journal still, his brow furrowed in thought. This Brotherhood is the lead of our concerns, he says with an air of finality. I've been trying to decrypt the glyphs this device bears. The symbols are clearly not Aztec, nor Mayan, nor are they from any other Mesoamerican civilization, for that matter. I believe there is some other place the relic belongs, somewhere it was taken from. Wouldn't you agree, Miss Istaka? Istaka's already grim expression goes darker, her eyes narrowing. She doesn't bother to turn around in her seat before addressing Alejandro. It belongs somewhere meddlesome scholars cannot abuse its power, she replies in a cold tone, and that's the end of the discussion. Crossing the border into Mexico is a less stressful endeavor than you imagined it to be, due to Alejandro's connections. You are way through customs with nary a stray glance, and soon enough, you are on your way to Mexico City. We start the scenario with 2 additional resources. And then finally, check your supplies. There's a lot of story here. Any one investigator must cross off 1 gasoline from his or her supplies. If no gasoline was crossed off, we are out of gas and we cannot take a mulligan. Fortunately, we brought gasoline. After arriving in Mexico City, you are disheartened to find very little information regarding the Brotherhood or the Nexus. You pursue the archives of the city's libraries and universities, but come up empty-handed. You can't find any of Alejandro's former colleagues in the city, and even his enemies refuse to speak to you, save for one. A woman named Padme Amareta, who studied Alejandro's work before he came to Arkham. She agrees to meet you at a trendy lounge in the southern part of the city, late at night. Istaka remains a short distance away, observing your new informant silently. Padma knows a lot about Alejandro's research, and even claims to have heard of the Nexus Enkai, though she refuses to tell you how to find it. It's a fool's errand, she tells you. There's nothing to find, just a myth. Trust me, many have searched for it, none have found it. You point out that the Etzli people were not a myth, and she responds with a charming smile. Perhaps not, but all this about the Etzli still being alive? Undiscovered for centuries? She laughs heartily. Bourgeois, pure and simple. Come now, you don't expect a real scholar to believe that, do you? Your eyes are drawn to Istaka, who is overhearing the conversation with crossed arms, her nails dug into her forearms. Padma's eyes wander over as well, the hint of a smirk on her lips. In any event, I apologize, but I don't have any information to give you. Only a sap would continue this research any further. Good day. Padma leaves with another alluring smile, a sweet scent trailing behind her as she departs. Once he's out of sight, Ichitaka sits down next to you and you discuss your next move. After a week of failure after failure, she has grown impatient. You offer a few more suggestions regarding whom you could speak to next, but her mind is elsewhere. When you return to your room, she immediately retreats to her room to make preparations for tomorrow. You decide to settle in for the night, and before long, your mind is meandering hazily into a dreamless slumber. In the far recesses of your awareness, however, you can hear Ichitaka reciting a cryptic incantation. Okay, well, that's all the story out of the way. Now we have to do a whole bunch of setup, which I've done, and I'll explain all the rules as they come up. So this is Boundary Beyond, and it is known in the Arkham community as being a very tough scenario. Perhaps not the most difficult scenario, but definitely not an easy one. And I think it has a couple of reasons for this, because it's not an entirely undeserved title, but it's also not entirely correct. A lot of people think this scenario is incredibly brutal and completely unwinnable and whatever, and that is incorrect. It is winnable, it's fairly punishing, but one of the big things is defining what success even means. This is a scenario with a non-binary victory condition. It's like Midnight Masks, like Undimensioned and Unseen, where how much you succeed by varies. It's not just simple pass or fail. Your goal is going to be to get what are known as ancient locations into play, and then clearing all the clues of them. And then at some point you will be asked to count the number of locations, and that is how well you did in the scenario, essentially. Your goal for that number should be 3. If you get 3 paths, as they're known, that is enough. That is you having beaten Boundary Beyond successfully. Now there's a lot of other nuances going on in the scenario that make the scenario a little trickier. It requires you to pay a lot of attention to what you're doing. But ultimately, that is where the scenario, that is where you should be aiming for. And if you only get 2, that's still fine, right? You didn't just lose the campaign, you just did a little poorly. If you get any more, awesome. If you didn't get all 6, that's normal. Getting 6 in this scenario is basically impossible, right? It is doable. I have done it on 2 occasions, but it is very tough. But that's also not the goal, right? The goal is 3. Now let's talk about where we're starting, because we actually have a choice. We can either start here or here, and there's a lot of flavor text here. I'll talk about. I guess I'm not going to read all the flavor text because it's just too much. But in general, there's a very easy route you should be taking throughout this scenario, which is you start here, then you go to the park. You go down to the temple ruins, which is going to be connected, because at the moment this is only connected here, but as different locations get explored into play, these are going to get connected. Then from the temple ruins, you go to the cathedral, and by this point you'll probably be at the end of the scenario, but if you have time, you can go to these 2. That is usually the optimal route. Now obviously, encounter cards can come in and change up how you want to play. Maybe there's a reason for you to go cathedral first, because it's actually very easy to explore that location. But basically, that is a good default route, because getting this one, and this one is pretty doable for most groups, which will mean you have the 3 you need to get the good ending, basically. Okay, now let's talk about the agenda and deck deck. Last thing before we do opening hands, hopefully, if I haven't forgotten anything. So the boundary broken. Ichitaka is already up and about when you awakened, donning her traditional armor, her bow on her back, and a long blade at her side. Something is wrong, she states cryptically. I only meant to peer through the boundary. Her eyes are bloodshot, her failed pace is a ghost. She suspects you haven't slept all night. It matters not. It is time you witness the fate that will befall humanity if we fail. 8 Doom. Crossing the threshold, as you depart the hotel, you realize that the landscape of the city has been altered. Silver lightning crackles in the sky overhead, and the earth rumbles deep below your feet. Monstrous, polypus entities float just below the clouds. What is going on? You yell to Ichitaka over the whistling wind. What is this place? One future, she replies enigmatically. Objective. After the first Tenochi... I'm not going to be able to pronounce that, sorry. After the first ancient location enters play by exploring successfully, advance. I guess I should mention Chaos tokens. We don't have any cultists or tablets, so it's -1 or -3 for ancient location. And a very nasty one for us, the other thing is a -4. If we fail, place a clue on the nearest ancient location. Alright, time for some opening hands. Okay, so we have 7 resources thanks to rescuing Alejandro. But looking at this hand, it's not the best. We have a take card for economy. That's not bad. Let us draw 2 more cards, so we're probably keeping that one. I want to keep Peter, because willpower is very important in this scenario, and having lots of horror heal is also very good. I think I can afford to skip the look what I found early. Expedition Retreat is an evasion tech, we don't have any enemies yet. And Waylay likewise, enemy management card, we don't need that. So we're just going to mulligan 3. Okay, well this is a decent hand. Could be better, could be worse. So we drew into Rabbit's Foot and 2 flashlights. Rabbit's Foot's very nice. Again, we're going to probably be failing a test every single turn. So having the ability to draw more cards every single turn is great. And the flashlights are okay for getting clues, but as you will soon discover, there are no clues on the map at the moment. We are at Kayochiskan. Okay, I want to apologize right now for my horrible mispronunciation. I don't speak Mexican or Spanish, I guess. So I have very little context for the actual words. I know I'm mispronouncing them. I hope you can forgive me. So 2 Shroud, 0 clue location. It is a present day and Mexico City traded. And it has an action to take 1 damage or horror to explore. Draw the top card of the exploration deck. If it is a location with a matching location symbol, place it on top of this location, taking its place. So this is a different explore than the one we've done previously, where we're not looking for connecting locations, but to replace our current location. It's kind of a neat mechanic. Now, because we have Rabbit's Foot and Peter Sylvester, we actually want to just first action move here to the Temple Ruins. 4 Shrouds, 0 clues, and we have a double action to explore, and the same thing about replacing our current location. The reason we're going here is because it's a 4 Shroud, so we can play our Rabbit's Foot for 1, and then investigate, committing take heart. We draw an Elder Thing. We place a clue on the nearest ancient location. Fortunately, none of our current locations are ancient, so that doesn't do anything. And we fail by 4. So let's draw 2 cards and gain 2 resources for failing a test first. And then we will Rabbit's Foot, searching the top 4 cards of our deck for a card and adding it to our hand. Well, there's some broken cards in here. Let's grab the drawing thing. It begins. Now, we also get an extra back action because we're Stella, which we will use to play out Peter. Okay, that's not a bad turn 1. One thing that is very true about the scenario is that you do not want to start exploring until you're set up. Oh, well that's nice. You get an extra explore action. Well, first Doom out of 8, and we draw our first encounter cards. It is Arrows from the Trees. Well, thanks Peter. Thanks for nothing. We take 1 damage, and we take an additional damage for every ally asset we control. Yikes. Well, so be it. Time to start demonstrating why broken cards are broken. First action, let's play Drawing Thin. Second action, let's investigate here. There's difficulty 4. Now it is difficulty 6, but we also get 2 resources. We draw our Chaos token, it is a -5. We fail, so we get an extra action. And we search the top 6 cards of our deck for a card and draw it. Who needs Mandy to investigate? Or to search? Well, this is interesting. Based on my knowledge of the scenario, I think I want to grab the Neither Rain or Snow here. Obviously, Take Heart could give us more economy, which is good, but we already have enough money, and we have enough assets to keep drawing into cards. And we'll need Neither Rain or Snow to start exploring. So I'll grab that one so we can hopefully get a little bit of tempo going here, because, having all the money and the assets in the world doesn't help us if we then don't have a way to progress into the scenario. For our third action, we're going to play the Journal, which gives us an extra action, which we can use to explore, which I'm just going to show with this Seeker symbol. And then for our last 2 actions, I'm going to spend our Explore action and our bonus action from Stella and Explore. So we are looking for a location with the yellow symbol at the top. And I'll try to make it so we can actually... Okay, well we hit a Treachery, which means we just have to resolve the Treachery. We resolve or shuffle a non-story asset we control into our deck, moving all damage and horror from the asset to our Investigator. If no asset is shuffled in, do a bunch of stuff. It's kind of nasty here. probably the correct choice here is either Peter or the Drawing Thin. Now the Drawing Thin is free to replay, just costs us an action. Peter is not. However, the difference here being that with Drawing Thin we can get the money and the cards to find Peter again and play him again. So I think I'm actually just going to shuffle Peter back in, which might be a mistake. It's hard to tell. Basically the logic here being that is that if I keep being able to use Drawing Thin, I don't care about losing Peter right now because I can always replay him later. So that was our second turn. We'll draw cards, gain a resource, and proceed to the Mythos phase. Second Doom out of 8. We draw a Words of Power. While there are enemies at our location with Doom on them, we cannot damage those enemies or discover clues at our location. We do have a copy of Alter Fate in our deck, so if this really becomes a problem, we can take care of it. I'm trying to think here how to sequence this. I know that at least one of the new temple ruins has a lower shroud, so I think I want to investigate and fill first. Again, difficulty 6. Autofill, excellent. So I will fill by 6, get my action back, and Rabbit's Foot. Oh, I also got to get 2 resource from that, I almost forgot. So search the top 6. We don't find Peter, sadly. But we do find some other fun stuff. So I'll just take that Take Heart for later. Next up, we're going to explore. So 2 actions. So I don't want them to spawn in the clues is the reason. So this is a blue triangle. It's the hill. But that would spawn over here. So not here, I'm just going to move them over here. Okay, well we had another Treachery. And this is actually a very important card. I want to mention this for anyone who's watching this and haven't done very well on Bound and Beyond. This card does not have a choice. It says it has a choice, but it doesn't. Because there are 2 options. You either shuffle an ancient location back into the Explore deck, or you put a Doom on the current agenda. If you are at Agenda 1 or Agenda 2, then the correct option is always, with one very minor exception, to put Doom on the agenda. It might sound weird that Ancient Evils is the lesser of the 2 options here, but it is. Shuffling the ancient locations are the victory condition. It would be like shuffling a Brood of Yogg-Sothoth from Undimensioned and Unseen back into the, or like setting the back aside so you have to kill it again. You don't want to do that. And there's also shenanigans with how the clues work. If a location with clues leaves play, the clues stay on it. But then when you explore back into a new location, the new clues get added on top of that. So it just makes the whole scenario much harder. Always add the Doom. Now, at the end of the scenario, you'll get to a different point at which point you do want to flip those, but I'll get to that when I get to that. The only situation in which you do not make this Ancient Evils is if you have a cultist in play with multiple Doom on it, and placing the 1 Doom would cause the agenda to advance. Because if you know you're going to gain multiple turns if you can kill that cultist first, then it's a different story. But as it sits now, this is just an Ancient Evils. Well, that was my soapbox moment for the day. Let's explore again. Let's hope we get something. That's the hill again. I don't know if I actually shuffled, but okay. Temples. This is a red square, so we'll go over to the cathedral, but nope. The lake would be over here, sadly. The Sacred Woods, still missing. And hey, we found something. So this is where the Sacred Woods would go, by the way, but we found the Temple Mayor. Major? I don't know how you pronounce. Okay, so after it enters play, shuffle your discard pile into your deck, discard until we hit a weakness, and then draw that weakness. And we can spend an action to shuffle a weakness from our discard pile into our deck to discover 2 clues here. However, before we do any of that, we have to resolve our objective. Into the past. In the distance, light seeps through a wide crack in the ground. As you approach it, you realize the chasm is not natural at all. Below, you see the sky as if you were peering into a reflection of the clouds above. Wisps of grey smoke emerge from the chasm, giving off a familiar bittersweet scent. You step through and resist the urge to vomit as the world spins upside down. When you open your eyes again, you are in another place. Not somewhere, but somewhen. The investigator who just put an ancient location into play by exploring successfully must test willpower 4, If he or she fails, he or she must search the collection for a random basic madness or injury weakness and shuffle it into his or her deck. And be aware that location connections are different on Tenochtitlan locations. I think that's correctly pronounced. So we only have willpower 3, we have to test willpower 4 or get an extra weakness, but we're Stella. So if we fail, we cancel the effects of the test. We draw the +1, of course we do. Either way, we do not have to get an extra weakness. And now our objective, past and present, is this real or a vision? Either way, the secrets of the ancients may hold the key to finding the nexus of Enkai. Find paths to the nexus by discovering all the clues from as many different Tenochtitlan locations as you can before time runs out. If there are 6 locations in play with no clues on them, advance. Now, we did put a location into play here that also had a force effect. So we shuffle our discard pile into our deck. And then we discard cards until we hit a weakness. We draw that weakness. It is the 13th vision. We failed ties on skill tests. Well, that was our turn. So now we proceed to upkeep. And this is actually one of the situations where people got very frustrated with Boundary Beyond. Is that Act 1 advancement. People got caught off guard by that and hit a very nasty weakness. Oh, okay. We don't have cards over hand size, so we can just proceed. 4 Doom out of 8. It's worth pointing out we have 0 paths so far, because this still has clues on it. We draw our encounter card, and it is a Hand of the Brotherhood. And this is a bit of a problem, because it spawns at any empty location, and after the last clue is discovered from an ancient location, if the Hand of the Brotherhood is ready, you place a Doom on him, which of course would mean we could no longer attack him because of Words of Power. And while the Hand of Brotherhood is ready, we cannot trigger action and reaction abilities on its location or connecting locations. So now we have to make a bit of a choice. It's probably best if we deal with him as fast as possible. Or leave him... So the problem... Yeah, so basically 2 choices. Either we put him farther away, but that means that if we start flipping or getting clues with these locations, he's going to get Doom. Alternatively, we put him very close by, and we just run over and try to kill him. Which, given those are the 2 options, I think I'm going to go on team killing. And put him over here. Has to be an empty location, so yeah. How hard do you hit for? Oh, you just have hit for 1 horror, huh? Interesting. Okay. In that case... Give me a second to think about it. So the thing is I have a waylay. So I could run over and, you know, waylay, or like evade, then waylay, try to kill him. But that's pretty expensive and also kind of time consuming. And we do have 3 combat, 4 with the fighter flight. I'm just wondering if there's some way for me to get a bunch of horror very quickly. We're not in Carcosa, cannot speak his name very frequently. Move. Now the Brotherhood engages me, but I cannot initiate actions here. Which is kind of a shame, because one of the things I was actually considering is I could take the Explore here, which gives me a horror and then gives me attack of opportunity, which is another horror. But sadly, we cannot trigger the action ability. We could potentially evade him, but then at that point the question becomes, why are we doing that instead of just, you know, trying to finish him off? So I will just evade. Actually, I'll evade and I'll make the difficulty 2 higher. And I'll draw a card, because I'm at 10 resources, so there's no reason for me to get more resources at the moment. I think I'm okay just failing and grabbing something with Rabbit's Foot. -3, excellent. So I get my action back, and I will get a search for 3, I believe, because it was 4 versus 4. Well, there's another DT, but there's also a close call, which if we actually evade him, we can just shuffle him into the deck. That sounds way better. Let's do that. Come on, into the deck here. So then next up is our 3rd action. We are going to evade him again. This time we will commit Waylay to agility icons. So we are up 6 versus 2, failing on tie. So we fail on Elder Thing and -5. You know what? Actually going to commit Neither in the Snow instead, I think, because I don't want to hit the Elder Thing here. Draw Elder Sign instead. I will just make that a +1. So Stella's Elder Sign, in case you forgot, we may choose to automatically fail to heal damage in a horror, but we've already failed the test this turn, so we're not getting the action back. We successfully evaded here, and we'll just close call this guy into the encounter deck. So get shuffled in the encounter deck. Be gone, you monster. Alright, we will take an action to explore. And when we explore, we have to test willpower 3. If we succeed, we draw the top card of the exploration deck, and if we fail any willpower test here, we take 1 horror. Which is actually not that bad. The annoying thing is I'm testing 3 versus 3 with 13th Vision, so chances of success are slim. I'm going to commit the Relic of Ages for 3 icons. Draw a skill, which is a -1, so we're good. Nope, we need the blue triangle. In case you hadn't noticed yet, there are actually multiple versions of the same location. So you can see here we have 2 different sacred woods from different timelines, presumably. Okay, a turn time. Test willpower 3 for each point we fail by, either lose an action or take a horror. With the reminder that if we fail any willpower test here, we will always take 1 horror. I'm just going to commit Take Heart. And of course, the best way to summon the +1 is committing Take Heart on a test you're equal on. That's a waste. Last action, we will... Don't think it makes a lot of sense to explore again, so I will just draw a card. There's Alter Fate, that's decent. Okay. This is our upkeep. Hey, it's Peter again, that's what we need. Okay, 5 Doom out of 8. 0 paths discovered so far, but I'm not too worried. Brotherhood Cultist. Yeah, I'm a little worried. Alrighty, what are we gonna do about this? 13th Vision is really messing up a lot of the plans I could be making. So, I want to get rid of the cultist. I want to play Peter. Preferably, I'd also either explore here or clear this location out. I'm a little skeptical of going to clear this out right now because there's a very real chance I draw an Elder Thing and immediately you have to put a clue back on it. So I think our first focus should be to evade this cultist, so we don't have to worry about that for the moment. Alternatively, we could keep him here and use him to you know, build up our horror a bit. The tricky thing, yeah, so, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this. First up, I'm gonna take an attack of opportunity. I'm gonna play Peter Sylvester. Second, I'm going to spend... yeah, I'm just going to take a bunch of attack of opportunity here. I'm going to spend 2 actions, clear 13th Vision, take an attack of opportunity. I am then going to explore. And I'm going to... So test willpower 3, I have to take another attack of opportunity. This one will go on Peter. So now I am up at 4 versus 3. But I'll make it 4 versus 5. And I'll take, let's say take 2 resources. We do an auto-fail. We fail the explore test, therefore we have to take a horror. And we will then pick one of the top 5 cards of our deck to draw. Well, that's not a lot of good options, is it? Let's see what's in our discard pile. So it's either resourceful or tracksuit. It's gonna be resourceful. And we get an extra action back. And we'll attempt to evade the Brotherhood cultist, commit resourceful. I kind of messed that up. I should probably put the second hover on Peter already, but whatever. -1, we make that easily. We get back the live and learn, so we need action efficiency. And we exhaust this guy. Okay, so looking at my hand right now and looking at the board in general, I think, yeah, I'm skeptical of staying here too long because I don't want to, well, I don't want to spend a lot of time getting one location into play, only to then be unable to clear it, and especially with the cultist. However, I think now that I have a little bit of horror on me, I can safely fight or flight to get rid of him, or rather evade him, get this test successful, get the clues here in one go, and then probably... Here's one of the tricky bits is that I do actually have to pick between Koyatsan or the Temple Maya. However, if I draw track shoes at any point, I don't have to make that choice because I can then just move over faster. So that's, I think, what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this one and then go back for this one. And that's going to be my 3 paths. Heal 1 hover of Peter as well. I didn't do upkeep yet, so... Okay, well that helps. Drew a Expedition Retreat, which should help with an evade as well. If we draw on the second enemy, we can evade both of them. 6 Doom, Creeping Poison, we are not poisoned. Words of Power, part 2. Okay, let's not have Doom on our enemy, or on enemies at our location. Pardon me. First action, evade. Let's get this out of the way. We'll play Fight or Flight. Get +4 agility, so this ought to do the trick. It did. Might even be overkill with the Peter Sylvester buff as well. Could have just gone for Waylay, I think. But I think the thing is that having the Waylay is kind of nice in this scenario too. I mean, everything is ultimately kind of nice. Second action. Let's just do straight up 4 versus 3 here on the old Explore. We succeed. We actually find the location right away. Awesome. So it is a 1 clue, 4 shard location. Each investigator here gets -2 willpower. So we draw a hex card. We discover 1 clue at this location. Grid limit once per phase. 4 shard, you say? That's a bit of a problem. Except for the part where it isn't. Play Flashlight. Investigate. So this is 2 versus 2. Elder Sign, we will fail automatically. So we are now road shooting for 2. Find those track shoes we needed. And because we failed by 2, we will look what I found. It's a bit of a waste on a 1 clue location, but here we are. I also realized I haven't set the counter up yet. Okay, so we have our first clue in the entire scenario. We're only 7 turns in. It's fine. We will move to here to avoid the Mr. Hunter guy. Okay, so upkeep. He readies. We get our actions back. We're ready. Everything. We draw a card. We gain some resources. That would have been useful earlier. And we got a missile. 7 out of 8. Why you gotta do this to me, Boundary? Lost in time. Well, that's an easy one. Goodbye, Flashlight. So this is, again, we have to shuffle an that we control into our deck. Well, we're here. We're gonna start exploring like crazy. We might want to put the shoes down. No, we can wait with that. So this is a take a deck damage or horror. This is actually pretty easy for us because we have Peter. So first one. Over on Peter. I do want to make sure I'm actually shuffling between, but it looks like I did. There we go. Sacred Woods. What does this one do? It's a 6 route. Okay, this one. 6 route location. While you are at Sacred Woods, increase the cost of each card you play by 2. While investigating the Sacred Woods, it gets -1 shroud for each asset we control. Well, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a 2 shroud location. We have enough actions that we could potentially even just play the flashlight, because we can afford to pay 4 here. But I think we're fine just shenanigansing it with live and learn. I would want to point out at this point, if I live and learn with drawing thin, I believe the consensus is that we would get the +2 difficulty from drawing thin on the second test as well. Please check that. If you find this video years in the future and you want to double check that, that's fine. It might be wrong, but as far as I know, that's how that works. Although I do just realize that live and learn doesn't work here for free either, because it also costs 2 extra. As does track shoes. But that's fine, because we can survival instinct the Brotherhood cultist, so that's not a problem. So we just have to decide how we want to get this clue. I think that's probably good enough. Spend 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. So spend 4. We'll get a flashlight out. We now have 5 assets. So Shroud here's 1. We'll investigate. Everything with the autofill. Excellent. We have the clue. Actually, if you have permanent assets, this location is hilariously easy to clear, because, of course, the permanent assets count as assets as well. So you just get to use them. We'll move here. Cultist engages us. We will attempt to evade him and increase the difficulty by 2, gaining us 2 resources. So we are now testing at 5 versus 4. And we fail by 1. Which is not a lot, but, you know, oh, sorry. We still get a card, which is a test of will. And we got an extra action. I think I actually do want to just live and learn, because I think with live and learn's bonus, we are fairly likely to pass this test, especially if we also try and survival instinct. So we're testing again. It is still difficulty 4, but it is now also at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 versus 4. So everything but the -5 and the autofill. Draw -2. Excellent. Cultist is evaded and we get to move for free thanks to the survival instinct. Let's go back over here. Okay. Just making sure I'm not cheating. Our first action was explore. Our second action was play a flashlight. Third action was move. No, we should be at that action. Or we should have spent that action as well, because that was our evade. So we have 1 action left. And we have the option to spend shuffle a weakness from our discard pile into our deck to discover 2 clues here, which would clear it out. I believe we do have a weakness in there. It's the 13th vision. It is only 2 shrouds, so I could just spend 2 actions with the flashlight. But I'm not too scared of 13th vision at the moment, so yeah, I'll just shuffle this back in and grab these 2 clues. Okay, so we are currently at 3 paths. But of course, Snare's not over yet, so let's get some more. Upkeep. Healing 1 from Peter as well. Which technically happens at the end of our turn, but doesn't make too much of a difference here. And we advance. Check the campaign log. If the Harbinger is still alive, following no telltale flash of light, a sudden explosion of thunder blasted across the sky, causing you to jump in shock. As though drawn from the sound, a streak of silver lightning crushes down from the clouds, ripping a tear in the world before you. Through the stare, a familiar creature emerges. It hisses in anger and raises its gilded spear to attack. Search the collection for the Harbinger of Valusia and spawn at the location farthest from all investigators. If we have 6 or more Yix Fury, we do not, we only have 3, it enters at the lead investigator's location instead, and it enters play with damage on it equal to the amount of damage recorded on it. I believe that we have 0 damage on the Harbinger, because we're not going to kill it anyway. And so we have to quickly figure out what is the furthest location. Well, from where we are now, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, so definitely over here. And the Harbinger, in case you forgot, she has 10 health, 3 fight, 3 evade, alert, hunter, and retaliate, and can retaliate while exhausted. But if we can attack her or evade her twice, she vanishes. She attacks for 2 and 2, and she has Vengeance of 5. And now, Itaka's strength, or the barrier is thin. Itaka's strength continues to wane as you journey through the strange vision. You've never seen her this troubled. She is often distracted, peering about as though any moment the answer will appear before her. From time to time, she mutters strange phrases to herself. How could this have happened? The answer will be with the Ancient. Someone else is here. I know it. Okay, we draw our counter card. A turn time. We test willpower, and if we fail, we take lose actions or take horror. Now I'm almost tempted to throw in the Drunk Thin here, because taking a bunch of horror isn't even the worst here, and it would be decent. But no, I think I can do better this game. This turn. Okay, draw 0. So the thing is, if I draw autofill there, it gets kind of nasty, because at that point we take a lot of horror or have to lose actions, which we don't want to do. First action, okay, so this is correct. First action, we will play Track Shoes. And now Track Shoes, of course, very nice with Drawing Thin. It does, however, have a drawback, which is that if we move and trigger this ability, and then end up accidentally succeeding at the test, we are forced to move. We cannot choose not to move. However, in this situation, that's fine. I'm going to move here to the Cathedral, which has the ability for 2 Shroud. For 1 horror, we can draw 2 cards, and if we have 6 or more cards in hand, we can explore. I think this is the only location in the entire scenario where you don't have to expend anything to explore here. I guess the willpower test here, technically speaking. Anyway, we're moving here. We're going to exhaust Track Shoes and test Agility 5. We are at Agility 6 right now because of Peter and Track Shoes itself. So we are 1 over. However, we get 2 resources from here, which is still a better use for action, even if we then have to move back. And we just draw a -2, so that's perfect. We get our action back. We get to search the top card of our deck. Oh, and we draw Cult by the Mist. Okay. So Cult by the Mist, actually one of the cards that does punish this like Drawing Thin combo a bit, because you will often be initiating on lots of tests with difficulty 4 or higher. So that makes this now a must clear. Sadly. Also means we cannot explore right now. But I think I'm okay losing the tiniest bits of tempo here to clear Call by the Mist, because I just want to be able to use Drunk Thin. So yeah, spend 2 actions, clear Call by the Mist. Let's see. I think this guy is going to hunter over here. And Harbinger, of course, is going to hunter over here. So enemies are closing in on us. We may have to do some shenanigans to get out of this one. Draw a card and gain a resource. Go to 1 doom out of 5. And we draw Timeline Destabilization. Now, this is one of the other cards that often is attributed to this scenario being an absolute hellhole. So you test willpower 1, but it gets +1 difficulty for every ancient location in play. And if we fail, we take a damage of horror and shuffle it into the exploration deck. Now the second part is actually the worst part, because if there are enough ancient locations in play, it becomes very difficult to explore. As such, I'm not going to actually bother with this test. I'm just going to test of will this. So exile the test of will and cancel the timeline destabilization. I don't have the time or the efforts to go for it right now. I will then investigate. First action. Difficulty 5, and I'll get another 2 resources. And I'll commit Take Heart. I'll draw a 0, so I will fail by 3. And let's see, resolve Take Heart first. Draw 2 cards, gain 2 resources. Then we'll get an extra action, and we will look at the top 3 cards of our deck. And choose, well, probably just a close call, but I don't know if we'll actually play it. We could use it on the this guy. We don't actually get to use it on the Harbinger. But now we have enough cards in hand to at least start exploring. I'm also tempted to go mess with the Harbinger, but I think, so for starters, we can definitely just take a hit from her. Even if we don't manage to evade her this turn. And we also have enough actions left, and Track Shoes still active, so yeah, I'll take my risk. Plus, if they both get on top of us, we can use Expedition Retreat to get rid of or evade both of them at once. So yeah, we'll explore. We have 6 or more cards in hand, so we're looking for the red square. Nope. 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 Here's the timeline destabilization, part 2. So there's always one in the explore deck as well. Absolute pain. And annoyingly, I really don't want to fill this one. And I don't have any willpower icons. And it is a difficulty 1, 2, 3, 4 test right now. So I'd be 4 against 4, which is not good odds. I'm going to improve my odds slightly by committing Take Heart. But not enough. Okay, so we take a damage and a horror. And we sadly have to... well, that's going to go on Peter. And then we have to shuffle Timeline Destabilization back into the deck. And now I have to make a real quick calculation. Because we have 3 actions left. We could just... Let's see. 3 horror and 2 damage. How bad is that right now? Because we could spam explore here. And that gives us a pretty good odds at getting this one. And then also having next turn the ability to just evade both of them is very strong. But it does also set us up to get very harsh punished by some kind of... Like if we repeatedly, for example, if we repeatedly drop Time with Destabilization from the explore deck, we're just going to get battered. So I'm going to explore one more time, I think. And after that, I'm going to try to make... if I don't succeed, I'm not going to keep trying. However, I do succeed. 1 shroud... Oh, sorry, 3 shroud, 1 clue. Forced after it enters play. Each investigator at this location takes a direct damage. And while you have 3 or fewer remaining health, the temple gets -2 shroud. So it becomes a 1 shroud location. Well, this is fine.jpg. We'll use the flashlight to explore here, or to investigate here, commit Old Keyring and Resourceful. So it is a 1, 2, 4 against 1. Hope it's going to be enough. It is exactly enough. Now, looking at what we have in our discard pile, I think I'm going to get back Another Inner Snow. I feel like there's a couple of tests coming up I do not want to fail. So we now have 4 paths. And we actually have an action left, which potentially prevents us from taking a little bit of horror, but not... Yeah, or... no, it doesn't prevent us from taking any damage. However... Okay, so here's where this gets complicated. We have our track shoot active, so we could potentially reach every location on the map right now, except for... No, we could reach any location on the map right now. Now, depending on what we want to achieve, there are a couple of locations we could go to, because presumably I want to move at this point. And one of the things I considered is I could go to the Temple Major, which the Harbinger can reach because these are currently connected. In case I hadn't actually said that, the red lines are the old, or like the current timeline connections, and the blue timelines are the blue lines are the ancient location connections. So, because those change. So if I go here, then the Harbinger can move over, engage me, attack me. But then when I move away, she also has to follow the long way around. Alternatively, I could move here, which keeps the Brotherhood cultist away from me. I could also move to here. Now I can't gain resources while I'm there, but it also puts even more distance between me and the cultist. I could move here and then try to move to the Sacred Woods. There's a lot of options here. I don't think I want to go here because this increases the cost of my cards. And I don't think I necessarily want to try to avoid them too badly, so I'm just going to move here. Right, so here we have to discard cards with a total combined cost of at least 5 from our hand, which is a big ask. Move here, I will not be triggering track shoes. I will end my turn. Heal horror. Brotherhood cultist moves here. The Harbinger attacks me. This is fine.jpg. And we go to upkeep. As long as we don't get harsh punished by a couple of weaknesses, we should be fine. He said, and it got immediately punished. Shutouts. Okay, we take a horror and we surge because there are no... Actually, that's not true. There's a cultist in play. I'm sorry. Okay, find the nearest cultist, place a doom on the enemy and test the willpower X or X to the enemy's fight value. If you fail, take 2 horror. That's the wrong thingy. So this is actually a little annoying. It's not too bad. We can close call him if we need to. Also, at this point, the agenda advancing isn't the worst thing in the world, because we already have 4 paths. So we have to test the enemy's fight value, which is 3. Willpower, 3 test. If we fail, take 2 horror. I don't mind taking 2 horror here. We're definitely taking 2 horror here. I'm also definitely searching for... was it 3? Yeah, searching for 3. That seems decent. Oh, it is a willpower icon. Alrighty then. It's also a 3-cost asset, which is useful in this situation. Because we need to discard cards with 5 cost. Alright then. Well, first up we gotta get Harbinger off our back, so we'll commit neither Rain nor Snow on an evasion attempt. Difficulty 5. Sorry, difficulty 3 by default, but we actually have a agility of 4, 5, 6, 9, which means that I'm just going to Drunk in for a card, because if I fail, nothing bad happens, so it's a risk worth taking. I do fail. That's annoying. I mean, I guess the only bad thing that does actually happen is I don't get to disengage from the Harbinger, which is bad. Next up, Expedition Retreats. 3 extra... Actually, do I... Okay, how many icons do I need to be 5 over? Because I'm at agility 6, so I only need 2 icons. But the only 2 icon card I have is Waylay, which I want to throw into the test. So yeah, we're doing... Excellent. Evade the Harbinger and put a resource on her. Brotherhood Cultist isn't a problem, so we will explore. Discard the Peter Sylvester and the Waylay, because I don't want to spend an extra action for doing that if I also just have Close Call. Nope. 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 Hey, that's the one. Okay, so we're now rapidly approaching a 5 or 6 paths victory. I don't know if we actually get it, but oh, that's really good for me. Okay, so this is a 5 shroud location. Every enemy here gets +2 evade, but while there's an exhausted enemy here, it gets -3 shroud. As it turns out, I have a flashlight, so I'm just going to pick up this clue real quick. There we go. I do think I missed spending 2 different actions, but I'm just going to grab this clue, and I think I'm just going to beat feet over here. And we might get 6 paths, people. No promises, but here we go. So while we're here, we cannot gain resources, and we spent 3 resources to explore. We have 8 resources, so we could potentially do that twice. Okay. Well, we're going through all the steps in slightly the wrong order, but so be it. We do not draw a card, or do not get a resource. So we are now at 4 out of 5 Doom because of the Brotherhood Cultist. I don't know if it's worth trying to evade them, especially with the +2 from the canals. It might be, honestly. Because if I run in, evade with Expeditious Retreat, I send the Harbinger away, and I can close call the Brotherhood Cultist. Maybe I should have just stayed there. Well, okay, well, this gets interesting. Okay, so this is a willpower test. Now willpower 4 test. If we fail, we take 2 horror. So the horror is getting up there, but we don't have anything to commit anyway. So I'm going to Drunk in to draw a card. Oh, well, I guess I'll just commit this then. Autofill, which doesn't matter because we have neither Rain nor Snow committed. So we will get a, let's see, it was difficulty of 6 because of the Drunk in. So we will Rabbit Foot for 6, which is our entire deck. Get the Fight or Flight we need for this to all work. And then not take any horror because we then cancel all the effects. Alright, this is about to go insane. First action, move back in here. Both of these engage me. Second up, second order business, let's evade the Brotherhood Cultist. committing expedition retreat. So if we succeed by 2 or more, we automatically evade another enemy at our location. Now this is up to 6th difficulty because it gets +2 evade from the Doom and also +2 evade from the location. However, we will play Fight or Flight, choose +5 agility. We dry 0, we succeed by at least 2. Which means we evade the Harbinger, so we evade the Brotherhood Cultist, and we play Close Call, shuffling him into the encounter deck, and giving us another turn. Then we also evade the Harbinger, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't say normal elite. Nope. So, which then means it vanishes with a finished or hit, because there's now 2 resources on it. Excellent. Okay, that went extraordinarily well. Quickly move back here, spend 3 resources, and try to explore. Please. Oh, and we get it first try. Okay. When it enters play, each investigator takes 1 direct horror. Okay. While you are investigating, if it has 3 or if you have 3 or more, it gets -2 shrouds. We have that. So this is now a 2 shroud location. I swear to you, I did not plan this, I did not stack this. We fail by 2, play look what I found, we advance the act because we just got 6 paths. There are 6 locations in play with no clues on them, advance. Yup, 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 yup. Okay, I haven't done that in a while, but I guess we just fixed Beyond again. That's interesting. Okay, visions of the future. The silver flashes of lightning become more frequent, and the sky starts to split open. Thunder rumbles in the distance, and you watch as the skyline of both cities, the present-day city and its ancient predecessor, are consumed in a giant stone maw. 6 pillars surround the cavernous opening, each glowing vibrantly. A red hue erupts from the center of the opening, and the ground shakes with the force of an earthquake. We've seen enough! We must get out of here while we still can, H-Taka shouts. For the first time since meeting her, you hear trembling in her voice. Add each Sonotsukan location in play to the victory display. Then we find... we search the exploration deck for all the other ones, so we find the second copy. And then we lose all of our clues. Okay, let's do that first. So, victory display with all of you. Then we search our exploration deck, which has 1 treachery in it, the timeline destabilization, and we put the other locations into play. Just gonna make sure, because there are some triggers. There's, I think, 1 possible card that has a trigger that doesn't require you to be there. Okay, so we lose all of our remaining actions. I don't think we had any, so that's fine. After ends play, place Doom on the nearest enemy. There are none. Pretty sure that would happen now, so we're good. And after play, shuffle the encounter, discard pile. Okay, no, we do have to still get the serpent. That's unfortunate because there is actually a serpent in there. Okay, so sorry, I should... Okay, so this is only investigators at the location. This is only investigators at this location. This is investigators at our location, but we don't have any actions left. This has 4 resources on it, but that's not going to matter. I mean, I guess for posterity's sake, I will put the 4 resources on there. This doesn't matter because there's no enemies. And then here, after it enters play, shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. We discard cards until we hit a serpent enemy and then spawn that enemy at the temple. And there is actually a serpent enemy in the deck. There it is. It's the serpent from Tenotsukan. It is a humanoid monster serpent. While it is at an ancient location with clues on it, it gains Retaliate and Alert, otherwise it gains Hunter. After it attacks you or deals damage with you with attack, if you're not poisoned, you get poisoned. It has Victory 1 and Vengeance 1. It's a nasty snake. We lose all of our clues. And then we spawn the set-aside Padma Amaret enemy in the Temple Major. We remove the current agenda and act deck, and we replace them with new agendas. New agenda, new act. Padma is a cold-blooded charmer, humanoid serpent servitor and elite, a 5 combat, 3 health, 3 evade enemy, alert, retaliate, and hunter. While she is ready, clues cannot be discovered from each ancient location. And forced, after she attacks you, if you have at least 1 clue, you flip it to your doom side, otherwise you take 3 horror. Vengeance 2, victory 2. And we have new agenda and acts. Time collapsing. Alejandro's firmest critic stands atop the steps of the main temple, her true self revealed to you. Silver streaks of lightning winds through her open arms. Coiled about her feet is an army of hissing cobras. Only the chosen can find the nexus. Only I am worthy. 6 doom. The return trip. Ixtaka points to the temple in the distance, shouting over the raging storm. It was her! She's the one trapping us here. She's known all along. One way or another, if you want to get back home, you'll have to slip through the rift Padma entered from. If she's defeated, we can advance, or alternatively, we can spend 2 clues at the Temple Major, but it is worth remembering that we cannot discover clues from ancient locations while she is ready. So we'll have to deal with her one way or another. But that was the end of our turn, so now we proceed to, well, heal Peter, and then go to upkeep. Oh, well, that one. Draw card. Okay. We should have the agenda deck should have reset, so we should be at 1 doom now. Actually, now that I think about it, hold on. If that was our end of our turn, we do still get hunter enemies. So Padma is going to be over here, which actually probably works out in our favor. Because looking at this location, we can place 1 doom on an enemy to discover 2 clues from this location. We can run over here, evade her, put a doom on her, and run over here and advance. So that seems like a plan. Anyway, doom. Pardon me. Shadowed. There's no more cultists. Hand of the Brotherhood. Put that over there, don't worry about it. Alright, how are we going to get out of this? Well, very simply. Well, 1 resource gone. We're going to go over there and ask nicely if you please let us go. Move. Exhaust track shoes. We are at 6 versus 3. Round -5, that's fine. Get an extra action and we rabbit's foot for 2. We'll take the other track shoes because we need to pass an agility test. Move. Hi Padma, please don't kill me. She does have or alert, so if we fail, could be a problem. But evade her, commit track shoes. -2, we're all good. And I think I will just put an doom on her. So we don't get to resign this turn. Unless I've missed something. But yeah. Awkwardly, that does mean we have to evade her again next turn, because we cannot let her attack us, because that causes one of her doom or clues to flip over. So maybe that's not the best line here. Yeah. Also, actually, hold on. Let me read Watch Power real quick. Well, in that case, let's put a doom on this guy over there and get 2 clues for our last action. Okay, so we now have the clues. Yeah, so we do have to get away from her, but otherwise we're good. There are no hunter enemies, so go to upkeep, ready her, draw a card, gain her. We're good. Mythos, lost in time. We will shuffle our flashlight into our 2-card deck. First action, we will attempt to evade. We'll commit neither rain nor snow. We will succeed. Evade her. Move to the temple. And we have 2 clues. We're at the temple. We advance. The gateway home. If the investigators spend clues to advance. No, come back here, Padma screams as soon as she figures out your plan. You can't leave me here. I have been chosen. Itaka looks back at her with a pitying glance. The two of them share a knowing look for a short moment, and you hear Padma cry, How could you? Itaka pays her no heed, turning back to face you. Go. I'll be right behind you. You shake off your fear and step through the rift. That was it. Wow, that was it. We get resolution 1. So okay, well, I've never done a solo before, 6 paths. Pretty hyped about that. So let's see what we got. Resolution 1. You are assailed by a prismatic assortment of colors and light as your mind hurtles back into place. When you next open your eyes, you are lying in the city's central plaza, your head still spinning from the sensation of plummeting. A small voice in the back of your mind tells you it was always a figment of your imagination, a daydream. It is the voice of self-preservation, warning you to avoid the path of lunacy you have set upon. You ignore it and rise to your feet, your legs trembling with terror and exhaustion. That woman, she must have realized who I am and followed through the breach I made. Perhaps she wished to know the location of the Nexus as well. Itaka says cryptically. Your head pulses with pain as you attempt to remember the events of the past few hours. You saw it, did you not? The cave. The maw in the sky, bathed in red. She continues, searching the sky in contemplation. It must be the past that leads to the Nexus. It's difficult for you to recall with precision what happened on the other side, but the image of the red cave flickers across your memory. You confirm with Itaka that you saw the cavern as well, and ask her how she knows it leads to the Nexus. Her bloodshot gaze meets yours, and you think you spot the hint of a smirk sticking at her on her lips. It is a difficult thing, peering across the boundary into the very threads of time. Perhaps you are more than you seem, she responds, the irony of her statement lost on her. Though she departs without answering your questions, you understand the answer that remains unspoken. In the haze of broken timelines and unexplained phenomenon, the path you saw was one future. A future you intend to fulfill. In your campaign log, record that X paths are known to you. X is the number of Tenochtitlan locations in the victory display, which is 6. If X is 3 or more, also record that Itaka has confidence in you. If the Harbinger is still entered play, it's still alive because we did not kill it, so it still has 0 damage. For every vengeance point in the victor display, record 1 tally mark on X Fury, 0. And we earn XP equal to the victory X value, and we earn 1 additional experience for every Tenochtitlan location, so we have earned 6 victory points. And then we have a small interlude, I hope. Once more you venture south, leaving the safety of civilization behind. There is no time to waste. The path to the Nexus lies on familiar ground, not far from the previous expedition's trail. Using the leather-bound journal as your guide, you retrace the expedition's journey. Soon, you are deep within the jungle, surrounded on all sides by hazards. Some naturals, other bizarre. Okay, well, we spent our second gasoline to make sure we can mulligan next scenario. If we have a map, we can map out the way forward, but I don't think we have that. We have to spend a ration or provisions. We are not poisoned, and we get to read pattern in stones. You take out your so as you trudge through the lush jungle and pass a series of familiar overgrown temple ruins, your keen eye spots a pattern along the stone wall of the structure. Upon closer examination, you find that vines and caked dirt is hidden in elaborate carving of hieroglyphs. Patterns in the stone. You take out your canteen and splash water on the stone walls, washing off the dirt and making the stiff vines easier to manipulate. A pattern of glyphs is clearly visible now, and although its meaning is still a mystery, the repetition of 6 glyphs in particular hints at a specific instruction. So each investigator who has a canteen begins the next scenario with 1 clue. And then we have a very special part called Fate Restored, but unfortunately we do not get to. So the restrictions here are if we have forged a bond with Itaka, she has confidence in us, and we have 2 or more cultist tokens in the kills bag, we get to restore Itaka's faith. However, we do not. We do have the second and third instruction, but we do not have 2 cultist tokens, so no siding with Itaka for us. And then the next scenario is Scenario 5A, Heart of the Elders, Part 1. Wow, that was a rollercoaster ride. Thank you very much for watching. This was super fun. I don't think I'll be playing more with Round Thin because I think it's stupid. But I do feel like this was a very good example of how powerful that card can be. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any feedback, please let me know. Thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you until the end of time.